Hi, welcome to educator.com. As we continue our introduction into Adobe Illustrator CS6. And today we're going to talk about objects. Objects are made of strokes and fills and paths. And let's get right into it. Okay. The first thing we're going to deal with is a rectangle. Let me just choose a color to go with here. And choose my rectangle tool. So I can just drag with the rectangle, and also I can hold down the shift key to make a square. And with most of these tools, I can hold down the shift key to make any kind of proportional shape. Also, I can hold down the option key and pull right from the center, and it can go any shape I want. Now, if I want to pull from the center and have a square, I hold down Shift plus Option, and now I can pull from the center to get a square. Okay, and a lot of these tools also, you double click. But this one doesn't have anything because it's just a rectangle. Okay, here, I double click. It's very odd because sometimes you double click on the tool panel, sometimes you double click here. So it's always hard to remember which is which. Okay, so in any case, we'll find out as we go along. All right, so I can click a rectangle, and then a rectangle appears here. So I can set the numbers there and everything. So we're going to do this a few times, so don't worry if you missed it. Okay, so that is the rectangle. Okay, let's move on to the rounded rectangle. So the rounded rectangle works the same way, and I select it here, and then I just click and drag. Again, I can hold down the shift key to make a square or equally proportioned rounded rectangle, and option key to pull from the center, and shift option to constrain it to the shape of a rectangle. Okay, of a square. Now, we've been drawing in normal mode, so now we're going to do draw behind mode. So let's try that with the ellipse, because I'm finished with the rounded rectangle. Oh, one more point with the rounded rectangle. Not quite finished yet, so double click here, and again you can see the points there. I can change the radius here with the rounded rectangle and put any of the numerical value I want, but also while I'm dragging, and we're in draw behind mode now, I can use the arrow key to change, but it's go up or down to change it to a square. So up, down. So there's where I have full control of the circumference of the corners. Okay, and now here you see it's drawn behind. Now watch as I pull here, it doesn't draw behind because these were in draw in normal mode. So now when I draw behind it with these, it goes behind it. So let's do that a little bit more. So that's the rounded rectangle. Now let's move on to ellipse. Okay, so I hold down here to get the ellipse tool. And then I could just start drawing with the ellipse, just pulling and dragging. And we're still in draw behind mode, so that's why it's coming up behind the objects. I hold down the option key to draw from the center. Hold down the shift key to get a perfect circle. And hold down shift option to get a circle drawn from the center. Okay, I can double click and pull up the box here, which will help me to select numerical values if I want, but I'm not going to do it here, so we'll just click cancel. Okay, that is the ellipse tool. Okay, now let's move on to the polygon tool. Okay, let me select polygon. Select a new color here. And okay. And get rid of this, I have some more space. So the polygon, just click and drag. And I think with the polygon I could double click here. Nope, so double click on here and I get the menu. So now I can change the sides and create the radius here. And let's do 10 sides. So now where I clicked, a 10-sided polygon appears. Now also while I'm dragging, I could change the sides. So while I'm pulling and dragging, the up arrow decreases the size, the down arrow decreases the size, and up arrow increases the amount of sides. So if you do too many sides, it looks like a circle. Okay, and as you can see, this is where I can create a triangle by going down there. So the polygon also creates a many-sided object and a triangle. Okay, and it's an equilateral triangle too. Okay, now I've been drawing behind, but now I want to draw inside. So in order to draw inside, I need to select an object and then click Draw Inside. I'm going to go back to my polygon tool. So you see there's like a dotted lines around the corner. So that indicates that this is in Draw Inside mode. So now when I pull, oops, let me get my colors back. Okay, so now when I pull and deselect, it only draws inside this object. So let me show it here. Draw inside. Oh, this is still selected as draw inside there. Okay. So remember to deselect the previously drawn inside object so you can select another object to draw inside. Okay, so now we have that happening. Okay, now I can deselect. I can pick my polygon tool again. Pick the color. And start drawing. Okay, deselect. And we'll see that it's inside. The color was still orange there, so I didn't pick up the color. But now we see we draw inside. So this is how you draw inside. So, okay, so let's go back to draw in normal mode. All right, and that is the polygon tool. Okay, now let's move on to the star. And pick another color here. Let's pick a nice yellow for the star and change up the stroke. So here you have the default star, which is 5-sided. Now stars are based on 2 radiuses. And when we double click, we see what those radiuses are. So radius 1 is the distance from the center to the inner points here. And radius 2 is the distance from the center to the outer points here. So I can change this to an 8-pointed star. And I have an 8-pointed star appearing. Now also, when I'm pulling with the star, I can use the up arrow to increase the amount of spikes or radiation coming from the star, and the down arrow to decrease it. And also I can get my triangle from here. Okay, now let's play around a little bit and change the radius. All right, so radius 1 is from the inner point. So let's make that 50. And radius 2 is from the outer point, so let's make that 75. And so this is 26 points here, so we'll just keep that the same and look at it. Okay, so there. So let's do this one more time. And change this radius point to 25. And we'll keep that at 70. Okay, so there you see. It's so tight You know, you can only see it doesn't, it just picks up the outline. So let's just take away the outline. Let's take away the outline. Okay, so now you can see this as a nice star that'll be nice in the background somewhere. Okay, good. So that is star. Put this over here. All right. Okay, now let's move on to the flare tool. Okay, so I'll pull here, then select a point over here, and now you see the flare. Okay, now this is a special effect. It's not something that the human eye normally sees, so you don't want to use this a lot. So wherever your first point is, however much you pull, that's how big the flare is going to be to start off. And then just select a point somewhere else to connect the flare. Okay, so again, this is something that you see through a camera lens. This is not something that you see with the human eye. So you don't want to use this a lot. As a matter of fact, use it very sparingly because it just makes your art look cheap to have flares all the time all over the place. Okay, so that is the flare tool. And these are the different options that you can get with the flare tool. Changing the diameter, the opacity, the brightness, the number of rays, the halo effect, number of rings, and a percentage, and what direction. Okay, so that is the flare tool. Okay, now let's go to line segment. Now, before I go to the line segment tool, let me digress and show you a little bonus of which is something you can do with the shape builder tool. So choose the shape builder tool here. Well, actually first, I want to select two shapes and then choose the shape builder tool. Now, wherever I drag it, or see where it's highlighted? Wherever I drag and draw with those, where it's highlighted will create a shape. So if I drag there, then deselect and pull, that has created a new shape. Let me do it here. Here we got some good overlap. Now I go to shape builder and I'm going to drag across all three, and now that's created one whole new shape. Let me select these three here, go to my shape builder, and now this time I'm just going to select and drag in here. And now this is the only new shape that's been created. So it can be especially useful to create some negative shape effects very quickly, positive, negative effects, and join in shapes. So a little quick bonus with the shape builder tool. Okay, now let's get back to our tutorial already in progress and pick up with the line segment tool. So line segment could draw diagonal lines in any direction, or I can do perpendicular lines. By holding down the shift key, I can draw straight across or up and down, and in any direction I want. Okay, that is the line segment tool. So I double click there, and I can choose the length, and I could choose the angle and fill the line if I want. So I'm not going to do anything right now. Okay, that is the line segment tool. Now let's move on to arc. So the arc tool, I double click here. Again, I can choose the X and Y axis, the type, whether it's going to be open or closed, and what base is going to draw on the X or the Y axis, and whether I want it to be concave or convex, and whether I want the arc to be filled. So that's choosing it from there. I could just draw it also. Okay, so that is the arc tool. Now let's take a look at the spiral tool. Okay, so I can draw, pull with the spiral. double click in here. Okay, and get the dialog box. So I can choose the radius, the decay rate, and the number of segments. Or I can choose how it starts. So I can choose segments there and pull. Okay, so you see it's a little bit different from here. So the decay rate is different and it creates a little bit more of a tighter spiral. All right, now it's getting kind of junky here. So we're finished with basic objects. Let me get rid of these. Okay. Now let's check off spiral. And now let's go to polar grid. Polar grid. The polar grid. Okay, here we are. Drag, and I get the polar grid there. Double click to pull up our options. I can set the height and the width here. I can set the number of dividers. So here I see there's 5 and 5 for the concentric and the radial. So let me choose 7 here and 3 there. And also I can create a compound path from the ellipses, and I can fill the grid with a color. So I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, so now you hear, I see I changed it. And again, I can hold down the Shift key to create a perfect circle. Shift Option to draw from the center. Whoops, I let go of the Shift key too soon. Shift key to create a perfect circle. There you go. All right. Okay, so here are the options. Now, I can also have this skew. So I can have a skew in or out. So let's pick out, see what happens. Okay, so there you can get a different configuration. So let me choose skew in. And there, so it's more skewed in. So it's the same number of circles, but I've made it go closer to the center rather than to the outer. Okay, so that is the polar grid. Okay, now let's move on to the rectangular grid. So here's a rectangular grid. Make it small or as large as I want. And hold down the Shift key to make a square grid. Hold down the Option key to pull the grid from the center. And Shift Option to pull from the center and get a perfect square grid. Okay, let's look at the rectangular grid 2 options. Here you can again have the height, the horizontal and vertical dividers. So I'm going to choose 8, and let's choose 10 for vertical. Okay, there we have it here. And now let's choose to change the skewing. So let's skew this toward the top. So now this will give more space on the top when we create a new one. And push all the others down. Okay, so that's the rectangular grid. Use these well and with caution. Do not abuse these things. So use them as you will. So again, these are the foundation things that you will be using. So they will come in very handy because everything is based on shapes. Anything you want to draw, anything you want to design is based on shapes. So these are some of the basic tools that you'll be using to create those. Okay, now let's look at the homework for this session. So the homework today is to use an ellipse tool to create 2 overlapping circles. Then use the polygon or the star tool to create an upside down triangle. Place these 3 in a heart-shaped configuration. Then use any other shape tool to close any gaps, because there might be a gap in between. The circles might not join, or the triangle might not really go right, because you want a nice smooth outline around it. So when you join those in that configuration, be careful. Look at the outlines. Don't have the triangles sticking out any. And then use the shape builder tool to join the shapes together to create a red heart. Okay, so this will make use of some of the things that you learned here, and then go further and see what other shapes you can create from these objects. Okay, so that is lesson 3 for today. Thanks for coming. So come back next time so we can learn much, much more. So remember, go out and just create.